Motormouth.
Alrighty. We're not going to get that again. Alrighty. This is Motormouth Radio, the 1 hour automotive talk show, right here on Long Island. Why can't I hear my microphone? That's why. What? Oh, now I can hear that. That's right.
Why am I hearing my radio career going down in flames in front of me?
That is very true. This is Motormouth Radio, your 1 hour automotive talk show, right here on Long Island. I'm Chris Switzer, and of course, here's a man sitting behind the shop bench, been doing it for the last 10 years. You know him as Ray Guarino. How are you, my brother?
Well, it's actually 12 years.
Yes, 12 years.
But who's counting? Yeah, very good, Chris.
Yeah, we started that show off pretty poorly. That was nice.
Finally honed, this is, yeah. You know, today...
That just goes to prove that we should not have major meetings before we set up for the show.
Right, we shouldn't.
That's pretty much going to be the case.
You know, this reminds me, this takes me out to my topic of the day, all the way out to the Far East. The kind of the way the show started was a total cluster bomb. And, you know, and today, in 1968, we have a lot of Vietnam vets and veterans in general who listen to the show.
Right.
Today was the Battle of Khe Sanh. It began. There were 4 B-52 bombers carrying hydrogen bombs that crashed in Greenland on their way to Vietnam, killing a crew member but spewing radioactive waste everywhere.
Really?
I've never heard about that after that, did we?
And that happened in 1968?
Today in 68, yeah.
Oh, my God.
And today in 1977, fast forward, leapfrog after the war, and President Jimmy Carter pardoned almost all of the Vietnam War draft evaders on this day in 77.
Wow.
So... we go to before I was in high school and after I was in high school in today's Far East news.
That sounds good.
There we go. That was our segment, our recent segment.
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
I guess. It kind of played in with the beginning of the show. It was, you know, like war. It was bad.
516-572-7440. That is the phone number to get a hold of us right here at Motormouth Radio. On this day, on this very nice day that we have here. We're here for you. We're live, 516-572-7440. So how was the week?
I got a couple of quick road ramblings about this week.
Oh, okay.
This happened to me today. It happened to my daughter the other day, and she asked me about it, and it happened to me this morning. I had a little bit of dirt on the windshield, and there was no frost in the windshield this morning, but I did activate my windshield washers to clean the windshield.
Okay.
And they did spray, so they weren't frozen. The fluid wasn't frozen.
Right.
But we talked about this, I think you brought it up about a week or so ago. As the mist hit the windshield, it kind of flash froze, and the wipers turned it into like this slurry. It looked like a gray Slurpee, kind of.
Yeah.
And the more I hit it, the less it cleared.
Right, because the more it would collect on the windshield and get an ice up.
I mean, it did wipe it, but it left, and what I had to do was put the defroster on high, and the car wasn't really warmed up yet. And of course, it did, as the defroster came up the windshield, it was melting it. But of course, the last piece, where was the last piece left on the windshield?
Directly in front of you.
Right in front of me. Like the passenger. If my passenger was driving, if I had a passenger, they would have seen fine. Not me so much.
Sounds
That's how I
perfect.
started my morning commute.
Oh, boy.
It got better from there.
I hope it did, just like I hope the show will. Let's go to the phones, go to the fun. Hi, you're on with the Motor Mouths.
Hey, good morning. How you doing today?
What was I saying about the show going well?
Yeah, it was just like that Far East thing we were talking about.
It's the Bronx. What's up, Bubby?
Hey, just tuned in on Vaughn Live and watching your ugly mugs there.
How you doing, my brother?
And I thought, oh, hello, I'm waving back.
Good, right, wave back.
Hey, Brock, let me ask you if you've ever seen this, because I saw this morning on the Parkway. I was coming to work, and I was in the left lane, traveling north, highway speed, and saw a car to my right that had entered on, and it was in the middle lane. It was a green Toyota Corolla, an older model, no hubcaps. And the thing that caught my eye was the back of the car was undulating up and down. It was bouncing. And, of course, the rear left wheel, when I saw it, was actually oscillating up and down. And I said, hey, this guy's got bad struts. They're gone. They're shot.
Yeah, that would do it.
Well, when I got nearer to the driver's window, I looked over, because I always like to see the people driving these cars. And this guy was like Lurch. Let me tell you, this guy had to be about 6'8", bundled up with all his winter gear, hat and gloves on, hunched over, his shoulders hunched over with a death grip at 11 and 2 on the steering wheel, and with this steely-eyed glaze. And I'm thinking, man, what's going on here? And I just said, you know what? Oh, blessed mother of acceleration. Let's get past this guy.
Get rid of him.
And I motivated. But do you see that often out by you?
Well, we got the blonde bimbos out here, and same thing. They on the steering wheel, but they have to have the cell phone in their hand. But they're just dead focused, like deer in a headlight. They just stare out blankly, like nothing around them, nothing in life is going on, like they did too many hits of meth or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's getting more and more common. I was just talking about, the drivers that we have, almost unilateral across the country, is that they're oblivious to their surroundings. They're like tunnel vision, just focused straight ahead and have no idea what's going on. And you see that more and more. I think you're getting it out there, too, now. We got this new breed of young drivers, and they're learning from their parents because a lot of the driver education programs are dropped. So they're not getting professional instruction, how to handle a vehicle, how to know their position in traffic, how to use their mirrors, how to back off, give themselves exits, give themselves leadway when they're driving. And as a result, and as you're saying, right, all of a sudden something happens, and they're not focused on what's happening, and they crash. And I think you see it, you see it. You agree with that?
Bronco, a good point you made. We have a good friend of the show, our friend Joe F., who is now a driver's ed instructor. And he checks in with me every couple of weeks and tells me about what's going on with the state of the kids that he's dealing with. And It's scary. He said some of these kids come out of the house like zombies. Many of them are coming out because the parents are kicking them out the door, forcing them to take the lessons they're paying for. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them just don't care. They fail a road test like, oh, yeah, okay, I'll take another one. So, yeah, the buy-in isn't there.
You made mention before about your windshield wipers. With you get that kind of a smear grit no matter what you do. The best way to eliminate that is you put white vinegar in your washer bottle.
Yeah, I have it in there. My God, now the levels are blasting me out. Yeah, I do have white vinegar mixed in with the mix. The problem was it was turning to a little ice slurry mix because of the 27-degree temperature this morning.
That's why you put rubbing alcohol in.
Right? You can't put too much because you'll actually degrade the rubber on the blades. I did that once.
That little bit of frost developing on the glass. And I found back in New York it's very, very effective. And they've been using that, since the 70s when I lived in New York. So that helps. Also, what you can do on a wiper blade, which adds to it, that a lot of people don't clean their wiper blades. You probably do. When you clean your windshield, you pull the blade away and you clean it with some alcohol.
Always, yeah.
Some kind of a good cleaning solution, like dishwashing soap, to eliminate any grease or grime that's embedded into the rubber fiber. That helps, too, by cleaning the tip of the blade off. Pull it away from the windshield and give it a good wipe. Even alcohol works good on that, and that'll help alleviate that problem. I call it the schmears.
Bronk, usually what I do is I take the clean rag out of my one back pocket, and I take the hip flask out of my other back pocket, open it and dab a little on, and that's what I use, because that alcohol works very well.
And then, what's left over, you click the blade.
Well, I just suck the rag.
At that point. Not even a question there.
Yeah, you watch a baby, sometimes they get the burp rag in their mouth, they just suck on the rag. That's me. If it's got alcohol on it, I don't want to waste it.
Pour it down the top of the blade. This way, run right down the blade, and you get the double dose.
I'll have to remember that, yeah. That's good.
It works good there.
Nice.
I was looking at the website, just to change topic a minute, and, put up my new picks. I put a little a game up there. I put 8 different grills on some of the nicer cars from the turn of the century, and see if you could guess what they are. So if you get a chance, post it up there on Bronx Pick.
I will do that. I have to go through the emails to see if I have it.
Yeah, you'll get it. It's actually buried in the quagmire.
Okay, it's
still. That's Chris's fault. I was going to blame Ray. That's Chris. Okay, I got to come over there. Get a chance to come down there. Well, this week what I'm doing is playing, and it's something people should start doing now. I know New York's a little bit different. I'm starting my spring maintenance on my cars. I don't like to wait until the last minute where the car's sitting, 4, 5, 6 months at that point. And one of the best maintenance most people don't do on their classic cars or their garage buggies, they never change brake fluid.
Yeah.
Right? They never change brake fluid.
Oh, yeah, it has to happen. You got to do it. It's a fluid. You have to change it.
Because of the condensation you get.
Mm-hmm.
And most people don't realize that brake fluid is extremely hydroscopic, and it absorbs moisture because of the condensation you get. Mm-hmm. And most people don't realize that brake fluid is extremely hydroscopic, and it absorbs moisture. Even though it's a closed-seal system, it does absorb moisture. And you can take a sample out in a needle, and put it in a glass beaker or any kind of a caliper and wheel, and you'll ask brake line rusting. A lot of people think, okay, the line's rust from the outside. It's the major cause of caliper and wheel cylinder breakdown. Brake line rusting. A lot of people think, okay, the line's rust from the outside. Yeah, that's all well and true, but it also deteriorates your brake lines from the inside out, which is the double whammy. So what does it take to bleed 4 wheel cylinders when you're working on your car anyway? Or bring it to a shop, have it pressure bled. It goes fast, it's easy, it's a no-brainer. But you can save yourself hundreds of dollars in grief and money and aggravation when you go for a brake job. So the old saying is, pay me now or pay me more later, but you're going to pay me.
Very true.
That's true.
Very true. Bronk, we got to run. We got to take a break.
How many times you do it?
No, we do it all. I do it all the time. Every 3 years. Very true.
That's true.
Right?
All right.
It's just a maintenance Pontiac, and it's still got the original calipers, wheel cylinders, and brake lines in it. So that should say something about maintenance. Right?
Yes, sir. We got to run. We got to take a break, my brother.
Take a break. I will talk to you guys soon, and have a great weekend and enjoy your upcoming storm.
Thanks. We will. We'll speak to you later.
Right. Have a good one, and good luck on your 12 years, Ray.
Thanks, Brock.
Bye-bye. Okay. Show is going well.
That was a recap of everything we've talked about forever.
Flying with a thud, a sea of indecision right here at Motormouth Radio. That's Ray Guarino. I'm Chris Switzer. And, of course, the Motormouth Radio Honor Group of the Hour, drivers with flaking clear coats on their finish. That's right.
Their heads or their cars?
Yeah, if they haven't waxed your car in years, and the finish is coming off in your hands, well, you're part of the Motormouth Radio Honor Group of the Hour. So keep it right where you got it, because we have a lot more coming your way right here at Motormouth Radio.
Have a question about your car or someone else?
It's really kind of weird.
Give the Motormouths a call. 516-572-7440.
WHBC Garden City, New York, the voice of Nassau Community College.
Join WHPC's Daily News Wrap-Up, weekdays at 4:30 p.m., bringing you a complete report of the day's news home and abroad, as well as sports, weather, and many other informative features.
We're Long Island's FM alternative.
All righty, welcome back to Motormouth Radio. Can you hear me, Ray?
I hear a little something.
All righty. This is Motormouth Radio, your 1 hour automotive talk show right here on Long Island. I'm Chris Switzer, broadcasting from the Motormouth Radio studios. That's Ray Guarino behind the shop bench. I think we finally got the board set up here. We were in queue.
Maybe.
Yeah, we were in queue. That's why Bronk was very low. It's like, let's take a break real fast. We'll come back. We'll talk more. But
you know what else was really low?
What?
My daughter's tire.
What?
I got to tell you, but yeah, my older daughter, I just went through a big thing with her left front tire in her car where she told me when I was leaving the house, Dad, I think I have a flat, and she was right. And I went through that in a previous show where I took the tire, didn't find a nail or anything in it, but I did find from spraying it with soapy water that it was leaking from the bead. It was a bead leak, which is common today.
And it's been a bane of your existence for the last year.
And if I get to do this nitrogen thing that we did on the other show, for this show, you'll know that oxygen molecules are smaller than nitrogen molecules, and that's why they escape faster than nitrogen. That's why the nitrogen stays, kind of doing the nitrogen thing now. That's why the nitrogen stays at a constant level, or a more constant level than just air does.
Right.
Air, which contains 78% nitrogen. But anyway, she said to me yesterday, I came home and I saw my wife's car wasn't there, but my daughter's was. And okay, so I can't pull in the driveway. What am I going to do? And I was told, no, my wife was home. Oh, my daughter had to take her car. Why? Because she thinks she has a flat. So she got in touch with me. She said the right front tire now, she felt. She's getting to be a pro. And I'll tell you why after a while. I said, okay, I went out and I looked, and the right front tire did look somewhat low, although not flat.
Okay.
So I jacked the car up, take the tire off, roll it, see nothing in the tread, no nails, screws, pitchforks, or any other things.
Right.
Bring it into the back, air it, and checked it, 13 PSI.
Oh, boy.
Same as Rob Leonard's
I was going to say, and you got on Rob Leonard for that same pressure number.
Right. Well, at least I'm doing something about it, okay?
That's true.
So I air it up, and I start spraying all the regular places. Now I added something to the repertoire. I take my valve stem tool, and I go in and give the valve stem a tweak, because I find they're loosening up a little bit.
So you tighten it.
Just give it a little tweak, yeah.
Okay.
Because I've been, like I said, finding that they're loosening, and air can escape from valve stem seal
Right,
as
sure,
well.
Sure. Well, you spray it with aren't you going to spray the valve stem with the soapy water as well?
Yeah, but I'm talking about right in like when you take the cap off inside where the actual stem is.
Yes.
And you usually always get a little bit of an air leakage, slight, normally. So, but I said, let me just give that a tweak. And I did all 4 of them on her car. They all took about a 20-degree turn.
Wow.
I'm not surprised.
Okay.
Temperature changes, and with, vibration or all, it loosens that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I soapy watered up the tire, and I went right for the bead because I didn't see anything in the tread and didn't see any bead leaks. I'm like, okay, what the heck is going on? Right. So she happened to come home as I was working on it and said, what's the deal? And I said, all right, it was low. She says, yeah, I noticed now when I was driving that I felt something on the right side. She perceived the low tire. Finally, after all these years of driving, she felt it, and she chose to leave the car home, take my wife's car, of course, because she had to take her boyfriend to the doctor's office, because, of course, he totaled his car. So we had to, that's why they did the car switch.
Uh-huh.
So I found nothing. I put it back on and said, let's watch it. This morning I went out and looked at it. It was still holding air. And maybe that's the next one that's got to go and have the bead sealed. I don't know.
Oh, for God's sake.
So we're just chasing these problems back and forth through the house. Yeah, it's like I need to be, I have to put my snow tires on now, so I have to take all 4 tires off my car. Put this, I got to get Timmy the Tires guy's hat patch or whatever.
You have been chasing the tire fiasco.
Mm-hmm.
I have been chasing the steering rack bushing fiasco.
Oh, that's a good one.
It is so aggravating with on the Dodge. I have those steering rack bushings that I think have shrunk to maybe 1/5. They've shrunk at least a fifth of its size.
You're talking about the bushing that mounts it to the subframe.
Yes.
Yeah, they degrade over time.
Yeah.
And if there's any oil leak, it exacerbates it.
I mean, it looks fine. It just literally is. It almost looks smaller than it was. And I'm looking at the bracket. The bracket is fine. Mm-hmm. It just looks like the bushing shrunk. So I've been having this clunk, clunk, clunk thing going on, and I've been chasing it. Let's go to the phones anyway, and let's chase a call and say, hi, you're on with the Motor Mouths.
How you doing, Chris? Steve here.
What's up, Steve?
What's up, Steve? What's up, brother?
How you doing? I just had a question. It might be for Ray or both of you. The lithium-ion battery I have in my motorcycle, do I need the special charger for that, or could I use my battery tender?
Good question. Whose battery do you have, Steve?
I bought 2 years ago a Shorai. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Okay.
Shorai.
Okay, yeah. I've seen it. I don't know how to. Well, I will tell you this.
It's a premium one. I got it from the BMW dealer. It's a medium-sized 27 amp hour.
All right. I'm going to tell you this. I have a lithium-ion in my bike as well, in my BMW, made by Ballistic Battery. And I did buy their specific charger. And I was told, I would say, call their tech line and speak to a tech, because these guys at Ballistic told me I could use a battery tender on it. The thing the specific charger does is lets me look at each individual cell voltage. And it lets me do a balanced cell charge or a specific cell charge. It's just a much more technically adept charger, if you will. And it's a diagnostic center as well. And, of course, the price, reflected that.
Yes, yes. The Shorai one was expensive. And it was very vague in the instructions. And it says you can use a battery tender, but... So last year what I did was just leave it, took all the drain off the battery, like the clock. I just took the negative cable off the transmission, and it just stayed frozen in time in the shed.
Oh, it will.
It stayed over 13 volts. I had no problem.
Steve, lithium-ion batteries are like nitrogen-filled tires. The voltage stays constant much, much longer than its equivalent, like its lead-acid or AGM-type battery.
Yeah, actually the only problem I had with this battery was when I first got it, it was kind of low, and it was kind of cranking slow, and I said, oh, what did I buy? And then all of a sudden, when I got used to the bike in a couple of weeks, it has never failed me since, and it stays over the winter like fully charged.
It will. That's one of the beauties of the lithium-ion, yeah. I switched over to my tools now, too, to my battery-powered tools with the Li-on, and it's fantastic.
Yeah. They gave you a chart, telling you, if you read, if it doesn't, 13.3 is 80% and whatever, going down. You really, if it goes into the 12.8, the same, it needs a charge,
I know that the one in my bike, if it goes under 9 volts, it's toast. It's not reversible. Under 9, forget it. It's dead.
Yeah, there is a warning shot that came with it.
Yeah. So if you're disconnecting a negative cable, I'm sure you're fine. And what you could do is just in the spring throw the battery tender on it for half a day just to wake it up again.
Don't leave it on automatic. Right.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're gonna be fine. And then ride the bike. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Ray.
You're welcome, Steve.
Bye.
Okay.
Take care, Steve. Bye.
Okay. Bye, Chris.
All right. Let's take a quick break right here at Motormouth Radio. Discuss more of what has been plaguing us.
I'm going to talk to you when we come back about tissuey materials and pleated things.
Ooh, that sounds like a lot of fun.
You're going to like this.
I am. When we come back, a lot more coming your way right here at Motormouth Radio. Tissuey things. I'm very concerned.
The Motormouths will be right back with your car questions. Give us a call at 516-572-7440.
Break out the mood rings and slip on the platform shoes. It's the Super 70s, the decade that brought us Elton John, Donnie Marie, and Fonzie are back on WHPC. Join me, Ron Stevens, as we count down the top 20 hits of a featured week and hear lots of bonus hits from that memorable decade. So listen to the Super 70s on 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College.
The Super 70s, Tuesday at 12 a.m. and Saturday at 7 a.m. on 90.3 WHPC.
All righty, welcome back to Motormouth Radio. Ray Guarino behind the shop bench. I'm Chris Switzer. It's like my first day of school. I've come to realize that. Things are plaguing you. Things plague you on the first day of school.
Yeah, you were late and you left your lunch at home.
So, when we last left, Ray has tissuey things on his mind.
Yeah, I want to show you something. I brought this in as a visual aid to show you.
A Wix filters box.
Now, if you look,
let's hold it up to the camera.
The thing of concern is look at the bottom panel of that box, and you'll see some information.
Ooh, look at that. We're on vaughnlive.tv/motormouthradio, so you can see this.
This is what you've been talking about, is the information that used to be found on parts boxes. And what that is a crossover application.
Right.
So that'll tell you if you have an AC Delco, that's the equivalent of this filter. If you have a Purelator, it's the equivalent of that filter.
Which is great. It's more information than
it is
than expected.
But this was the information you were really talking about right here. Look at the back panel of that filter.
Now we're talking. In one of our shows, we were talking about...
It was more than one.
The information that you can find on the back of a box for a part in which whatever car the part fits. And we had gotten on the subject of oil filters because oil filters pretty much are generic. Everybody that's spun an oil filter on a car knows, or at least in the last 20 or 30 years, knew about the information that was on the back.
I've had that leaf filter for, I'm going to say, 30, 40 years. There's a price tag on the top. Look at the store that it was from. I didn't know they ever sold oil filters.
I bought it from, of all places.
You know,
I can see this. Fortune off.
I don't think I did. I think, I remember back in the day, guys used to use those price guns. I used to use one in the auto parts store.
Sure.
And you price your friend. You do everything you do. Your friend.
I was going to ask you to do the noise over again, but you did it.
And I think what it was, and I remember some guys had gotten reels of that stuff from other places and used it in their store. This probably came from Times Square store, I would imagine, but because I don't know if Fortuno's ever had oil filters.
You know what's funny? It's in a package that's displaying the oil filter proudly.
Yeah.
Unlike what they do now, where they just put the oil filter in a box.
This is the Eliminator, folks, the LF24, and it says right here, with acid-fighting ferridium anode.
Get out of here!
Yeah,
I got some of that under my arms.
Ferridium anode. You know what the date on this box is? Let's take a date. Let's take a guess.
Judging by the way it's designed.
And of course, this fits all Buicks, Caddies, Olds, Pontiacs, that's why I have it, and GMC trucks.
Judging by the look of the box, I would say anywhere from 1979 to 1981.
1972. That's the data right back. Leaf filters, Edison, New Jersey.
Wow.
So, yeah, that was the information you were talking about when they used to put the application on the back. And, again, that was a smaller group. Some filters, of course, covered more application than others. But, those were the good old days.
And that filter pretty much has tissue paper that's wrapped in there, just like
it's probably a roll of toilet paper inside of there. That was the tissuey part of our segment.
So you're taking all of those anodes and doohickeys and you're wiping your butt with them.
Here's your 3 bullet points. It says on the side panel, protects your new car warranty with exclusive acid-fighting ferridium anode An only filter that removes both sludge and acid. So if you were dropping acid and you dropped it in your engine, this thing would get it back for you. It says
retrieve my acid.
Lee oil filter for the man who takes personal care of his car.
The man, right? Because changing oil is a man's job.
There's no women doing it back in 72, folks. Oh, hell no.
Not any women we wanted to know.
No. They even tell you the oil filter color code by manufacturer. See, this one happens to be...
Oh, the blue?
Yeah. Ford and Chrysler's are red. The GMs were yellow or blue. American Motors was blue. And imported cars were mustard. So you could tell on the shelf, I guess from a stocking perspective, which filter section you were in if you knew what color your car took.
It's amazing, the filter technology we had in the early 70s.
Now you get white box, you get little friends, orange. Yeah, you can't tell by the box anymore.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a box with a number on it.
Things were better in the 70s.
Wow.
Always was, always will be.
Holy moly. 516-572-7440. That's pretty impressive.
So, are you going to change those rack bushings? Can you change the bushings, or is it integral to the rack? Let's first start there.
Fortunately, they may have to get burned out.
Are they in that kind of an omega-shaped, like a... No, what kind of a hold? What kind of a bushing holder are they in?
It's a round bushing, but it's flared at the end.
Yeah, sure, okay.
Yeah. And it doesn't split apart.
Okay.
I'm hoping it does.
Well, there may be a split in it to get it over the...
I'm hoping it does. It has what would you say, a shim, or not a shim, I guess you could say a sleeve that the bolt slides through. It's a metal sleeve.
Oh, sure,
and the bushing is around that.
Anti-crush sleeve.
Okay. What I had to do was I had to find two washers that were able to be bigger in diameter, the inner hole bigger in diameter than the sleeve itself.
Right.
So I was able to slip those over either side to use as, what would you say, compression fittings somewhat? To compress...
Shims.
Shim to...
Yeah.
Okay, the word shim. To almost contain that rubber bushing so it's not bouncing around. But the problem is, it's still bouncing around.
So that's my question. Is the service procedure, can you service those bushings, or are they part of that rack assembly?
I'm pretty sure they're serviceable.
Okay.
I would hate to think that they're part of the rack assembly, but I'm pretty sure they're serviceable, whereupon the replacement bushing will be a three-piece sleeve and two pieces of rubber that you would slip over.
No, it could be a one-piece bushing. The sleeve goes through the middle. There could be... Sure, of course, yeah. The bushings are made a lot of different ways. You have to see what it is.
Mm-hmm. But no, I would not replace the rack just for the bushing.
Well, if you had a choice, you may not have a choice.
That is true.
So that's what you have to see. You know, you can go to any parts look up on the internet, Rock Auto or whatever, look up in suspension, and they'll list, if the bushings are available, they will list them.
Now, the problem is, the one in question is the passenger side, and obviously the steering wheel isn't bolted onto the passenger side of the rack of the Dodge. So that bushing, I was able to undo the bolt, slide the rack down, futz with the bushing, and then slide it back into its subframe holder and put the bolt back in. Everything was cool. The other side, the driver's side, got the steering wheel attached to it, so it's not going to drop so easy.
You have a linkage attachment, a point. We used to have a rag joint in our cars that connected the column to the box.
Right.
Now you have like a Borgenson joint or some other type of sometimes a universal fitting that you can disconnect.
I would hate to think that I'd have to disconnect it from the gnarled. From the shaft to the steering wheel. I don't really want to do that.
Okay.
I mean, I'm contemplating.
You're going to have to if you want to change those bushings.
Yeah.
There's going to be no two ways about it.
I know. But it's one of those jobs that I really don't want to do in this weather.
You know what? It's not falling out of the car. Live with the clunk. Oh, speaking of the clunk, and then deal with it in the spring. After we spoke on our other Sunday show, I was talking about a noise that I had in the back of my car that Kilowatt Kevin picked up on.
Sure.
So I happened to get out there one day during the week. What was I doing? I don't know. I had reason to open the hatch, and I said, you know what? I bent down. I said, let me just wiggle that exhaust. Let me grab the tailpipe and give it a good shake and see if I hear the clunk noise. And no, it's nothing. It's solidly on its bushings. So I looked in the car, and I do have compartments on either side of the hatch, and on the left side is where the jack is stored.
Right.
And I also had stuffed in a portable air compressor, and I wrapped it in bubble wrap that you get in packages.
Okay.
And I stuck...
To keep it from clunking.
To keep it from clunking. So I removed it. I took it out, and I was driving the car, and I said, son of a biscuit, I don't hear it anymore. Well, I'm going to say it didn't take it fully away. It decreased it a lot. I still heard if I went over... Now, my car has independent rear suspension, so it does take bumps evenly where it's not a solid axle levering the car. But I noticed if I went over a type of a bump where the car would kind of lurch up and down.
Like undulate?
Like a speed bump if you went over it on an angle.
Okay.
A bump like that, I still think I heard the noise, but less than before. So I still think there's something doing it. That my guess is still the shock absorber, but I know taking that compressor out of that hatch definitely helped lessen the noise. So that's what you got to do. You have to go in and one by one.
Well, this is what we were talking about last week, chasing the problem. You chase it.
And clapping about it, too.
And clapping about it.
Right.
When you chase the problem, you find that you're learning just from the results of whatever thing you do to the problem.
You know what else I learned?
What?
I learned that I found where I put that air compressor. It's like, oh, that's where it is.
Well, but here's the funny thing. When I moved that steering rack, before I attacked it with the shims, I got like a little creak out of it, or a little bit of a creak.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, that's exactly the same creak I was getting in the morning when I'd pull out of the driveway. It would go. And now I put those shims on the rubber grommet and sent it back up there. The creak's gone. Yeah. But now I hear that dum-dum-dum-dum dopey noise, which is, to me, the steering rack just rattling around in there.
The problem is the bushings act on forces in a few different directions.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few different vectors going on there. You attacked one angle.
Right.
The other ones haven't been touched, but it will mask it a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I know I altered it because now the noise under the car has changed.
Sure.
So I know that what I'm doing is I'm just chasing that problem.
Well, at least you know what it is, and you can affect the repair
Mm-hmm.
if you so choose to do so.
And the funny thing is, like, when you bring it into a station, bring it into a mechanic to have him look at it, at least I could say this to him, that this is what I've done.
Point, say, that.
No, I don't want to diagnose, right? Because you don't want to bring the car and you don't want to tell them, do this, do that, because they'll do it, and it may not be the problem.
Right. Well, you can offer the information. Say, I think this is what it may be.
Right. That's all. That's all.
What do you think?
There's something wrong with the fuselage, Frederick. That's Ray Guarino. I'm Chris Switzer. This is Motormouth Radio, your non-stop shopping for all things automotive. You can find us on motormouthradio.com. We'll be coming right back. Got a lot more coming your way right here on this fine, upstanding program.
WHPC 90.3, the radio voice of Nassau Community College, is looking for individuals, businesses, charities, or organizations in our local and global community that would like to donate to support our radio station. Whether you listen locally or online, here is how it works. Go to our webpage at ncc.edu/WHPC and click Donate Now. Or if you prefer, you can send a check to WHPC Radio, 1 Education Drive, Garden City, New York, 11530. Make check payable to the NCC Foundation. In the memo of your check, write WHPC Donate Now. Any contributions will help defray our operating costs, and it's tax deductible. This message was brought to you by the radio voice of Nassau Community College, streaming online at ncc.edu/WHPC.
Excuse me.
Motormouth Radio.
Alrighty, welcome back to Motormouth Radio. We are taking those calls. 516-572-7440. Right here, right now. Ray Guarino, I'm Chris Switzer.
And I'll tell you what, since no one's calling because their phone zammers are frozen, I'll give you a choice, my friend.
Oh, good.
We can talk about the nitrogen tire filling that we spoke about on the other show and bore you with that again, or we could talk about 10 things you didn't know about tires. So do you want to cover old ground, or do you want to play like a new ground type of a quiz type? It's not really a quiz, but it's, we can play it like that.
Yeah, right about now I'm looking at covering some old ground.
You want to cover old ground?
Yeah, because the new stuff, anytime I've been venturing into the new stuff, I've been getting my hands slapped.
You're going to hear the 10 things about tires again anyway, so everything old is new again with this endeavor, folks. Believe me. Anyway, you want to do nitrogen?
Yeah, let's do it.
Right. We were talking earlier about nitrogen in tires. I mentioned that we breathe 78% of it out of the air today.
Right.
So the push has been to fill tires with nitrogen as opposed to regular oxygen. And the questions, of course, are...
Why?
That's the question. Yeah,
okay.
Go on.
Now, you had mentioned that air is 78% nitrogen anyway.
Correct.
And nitrogen has larger molecules...
Yes, than oxygen.
Than oxygen, right. So if air is a mixture of 78% nitrogen, wouldn't 70% of that air have larger molecules?
That's correct.
That's correct.
Very, very diagnostic of you.
I'm amazing, aren't I? But anyway, my point is, is it those 22%, 22% smaller molecules, that's going to be enough?
Oh, hell yeah.
It will be.
Joe
to render a leaky...
Yeah.
To go through a leaky bead?
Joe just let me know that the rack bushings are available aftermarket for your
they
car.
are?
Yeah.
Thank you, Joe.
So you can now do that job. Yes, well, that's the thing. Excuse me. And we talked about how nitrogen, a full fill of nitrogen, they gave some kind of like sort of things. Like they said, you'll lose air every month, every week in your tires, or you gain pressure depending on the ambient temperature outside. We know that 10 degrees up or down, you'll lose 1 pound up or down accordingly, sliding scale. So what they said was if you had a tire with just straight air in it or filled with nitrogen, 95% or above of nitrogen, the nitrogen tire, if the regular tire would lose air, or they said if it would lose a couple of pounds, 2 to 6 pounds in, say, a month, the nitrogen-filled tire would lose the same amount of air, but in 6 months. Okay, because there are still losses. There's still mechanical interfaces that the nitrogen isn't going to seal against. It was typically used in the aircraft and heavy industry world as part of, I said aircraft and the space program. The space shuttle ran on tires that were nitrogen-filled.
That's amazing.
And one of the reasons is for explosibility. And I gave the example of a car fire. I've sat and watched many car fires over my life. I never said any, but that wasn't me on the side of the belt. That was your cousin.
I was going to say I can't say the same.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
And at the point where the heat gets to the point where the tires actually explode, that air, it expands at such a rate it has nowhere to go, and it explodes the carcass of the tire. That won't happen with nitrogen, or it'll happen at a lot higher temperature because the air is a wet gas and nitrogen is a dry gas. Now, what that means exactly, I don't know on a chemistry level, but we have to take it for what they say.
So the word is inert or more inert?
More inert, yeah, less volatile, I think, because it's not totally inert. It's not.
Right.
And most things can explode when pushed enough. But they say now...
like co-hosts.
Oh, absolutely. But in the case of aircraft or like heavy industry, in an accident, a crash, you're not going to get that. You're not going to have more volatility in the crash.
Right.
And hey, you know what? If your aircraft is crashing anyway, I'm not worried about those two little tires that are under the. I'm worried about some other stuff. Truthfully,
I was thinking about that when you mentioned aircraft one more time. I'm like, yeah, that's not really. It's those wings that are filled with
fuel, jet fuel. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Kind of focused on those.
Yeah, let's take a call. We'll come back.
All righty, to the phones, to the fun. Hi, you're on with the Motor Mouths.
Had to call back one last time.
Yes.
Expose about tires.
Yes.
And it reminded me of a real good story. I think you'll get a kick out of it. It'll only be 2 minutes.
Okay.
Doing TV way back when, we had the same thing, live calling, and people would call in with problems about their cars. So I had this woman call in talking about her tires, same thing about losing pressure in the wintertime. And she says, what do you think the problem is? She says, well, you probably got a leak somewhere, either in the valve stem, a bead leak, maybe you have a nail in the tire, or some kind of defect that's causing the air to leak out of the tire. It's very adamant, and it gets very nasty. He goes, I just bought these tires. They're brand new. There's nothing wrong with my tires. So there's got to be something else going on. So the way my twisted mind works, I go, well, do you have an imported car or do you have an American car? He goes, I drive an import because they're better. He says, well, when you put air in the tire, did you use domestic air or did you use import air?
You did not.
Yes, I did. I can't make this up. That's why I'm laughing here thinking about this story. So she goes, well, I only use American air because it's better than imported air because we have EPA regs. And she goes, rambles on and on and on.
Gosh.
Is she a lawyer? Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Right. So I said, well, that's where your problem is. See, on imported tires, you have to use imported air because the chemical structure and the molecules, Ray was saying, is a different consistency than the American air. Therefore, the tires leak. So what you have to do is go back to where you bought the vehicle.
That's great.
Bought the tires.
Right. No, the vehicle. I'm really going to stick it to her. She wants to drive an import car at that point. Send it back. And he says, well, when they put the new tires on my car, They used domestic air. They didn't use imported air, and that's why I have a problem. So I want you to put in imported air.
That's great.
Right? So I took it one step further and said, also, what your problem may be is that your valve stems aren't lined up. So if your valve stems aren't exactly at 6 o'clock on all four tires, the tires are not going to run square, and you're going to leak air out of it there also. So make sure you tell them to line up your valve stems. I heard from her again, obviously.
I'm
Boy, I
sure.
couldn't stop laughing after the show.
Wow, that's amazing.
So you can't have fun with people who think they know everything.
No, that's good. That's a great story, Bronk.
That is, Bronk. That's
And that's
brilliant.
a true story, boy.
And you did
I'll
it
tell you,
that
way
way
back then, we butchered a lot of people. That's why I got fired a number of times. Believe it or not, over the course of the 4-some-odd years, I got fired 4 times,
No.
and I got rehired back each time after that.
That's the surprising part.
That is.
Right? Surprising part. Just want to leave you with that. Give you a good story and a
Thank you,
laugh.
my brother. Always a pleasure.
Take care, guys.
All right,
Bye-bye.
thanks, Bronk.
That is pretty funny.
That was pretty funny. Yeah, that's one of those ones that you got to laugh at. That's great.
Very
I like
true.
that. And Bronk can deliver it too, which is good. So back to this.
Yes.
According to the AAA,
Yes.
less than 15% of people, you were polled in that, I think,
was.
of drivers check their tire pressures once a month.
I check it less than that.
Which is one of the reasons they use to bolster the fact of using nitrogen, because now your tires will be steady over a longer period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Now we get to the point of, okay, well, how do you actually get this nitrogen in the tires? And I found there's 2 different types of equipment.
A shovel.
Well, no, that would be kind of hard to shovel it in. In the little valve stem, you need a funnel. One of them is a device that you can buy that will take, obviously, the oxygen out of the air with the nitrogen in it, because and it'll separate out the oxygen it's kind of like distilling water, if you will.
Okay.
And this is what I believe. I didn't read this. I'm thinking this is what it'll do, because what else could it do? And then it takes the nitrogen and puts it into the tire. Now, or you can buy a device, a bottle of nitrogen, like a bottle of oxygen or acetylene, whatever. But what they recommend is the fill takes place in 3 stages. So what they'll do is they'll expel all the air from the tire.
Right.
Or if it's a newly mounted tire, they just won't put any air in it. But there is air in there because you have atmospheric pressure.
Mm-hmm. But there's no like vacuuming or anything. But I guess you can't, because the tire would collapse.
Yeah, right. You could, but
couldn't vacuum
and
it
then
out?
the bead right. So you don't do that.
Okay, so that's out.
So what they do is they fill it with either the straight nitrogen or the nitrogen from the new machine. They fill it to a certain level. I think I wrote it down. I don't know. It was probably at I think if I remember correctly, it was maybe. They bring it. They fill it to like 20%. Then they deflate it again.
I got it. They fill it to the maximum amount, and they let all the little molecules seep out through the bead.
It's not a bad idea, but no, that's not what they do.
That's not what they do.
They fill it. Then they'll deflate it to a certain percent.
Mm-hmm.
Then they inflate it again to a certain percent and deflate it. And the third fill is the final fill. And by then they've had all the bad oxygen out, all the good nitrogen in. And the beauty of it is, you can sit there with a nitrogen gauge, which is like an air pressure gauge, and do that manually, but these machines do it automatically. Okay. So when you hook the tire up, you press go, and it just does it. The green light comes on when it's done. You do the next tire.
But aren't you wasting nitrogen?
Well, but that's what has to be done, because they found for it to have the properties that they want it to have, you have to have 95% or more of the nitrogen in the tire, and this was the only way to do it.
Yeah, I guess so.
Now, I don't know. That for all I know, it reclaims what it takes out and refilters it. I think that would make sense.
I'm sure the filling machine, probably in conjunction, has that separating device that you were talking about to expel the air and regain the nitrogen back.
I didn't call anybody or get the specifics on the machinery. I didn't think it was really pertinent.
Mm-hmm.
But the real advantage to the dealers who do this is, of course, people who come in to get their tires topped off. They will put a green valve on the tire too,
That's
so you know it's got nitrogen.
That's why the valves are green.
That's why.
Some of them.
Just like the E85 cars have a different colored gas cap, I think that's green as well. The gas cap is, so you know E85. But they'll get you in for a top off. They'll get you in if you have a flat. Now you could put regular air in that tire, of course. Then when you get to your fill station, you can have them go through this process again.
Right.
But the idea was really a marketing ploy to get people in, and then of course sell them other work. Mm-hmm. Because you get a customer, and not that you want to exploit them, but hey, listen, I see your oil change is out of date, or you know what. Whatever it is, do you need an inspection? Oh, well, now, front end alignment. And then, you can do it legally without fleecing the customers.
Yes, but anything to get the customer into the dealership is...
Get him into your shop as opposed to the guy next door, right?
Sure.
My investigation showed that the nitrogen extracting machines I don't know what a bottle of nitrogen cost. I didn't look for that. But the extraction machines cost anywhere between $2,000 and $10,000 to buy.
Wow.
And I'm going to assume it's because of the bells and whistles or what they do or maybe how fast or how completely they do it. But I did see a listing of them, and I just looked at the prices quick and said, wow, there's a big... So I even found a chart on one of the sites that showed a shop owner, basically, at how many tires per day, at what point he'll start recouping money on the machine, like when it'll start paying for itself.
It all depends on how much he charges to fill a tire with nitrogen.
That's correct. It's a sales tool, and they offer this. Now you can't really outprice it because then people, it would outweigh the benefit of doing it.
I'm just thinking of all of those ways you can mislead the consumer. Unfortunately, it's just I can't help but think about it.
Right.
You could just hook up some gizmo and just a regular air compressor and hang.
You could
hang something on it that says nitrogen only, and
I'll tell you what.
How are you gonna know?
If this technology becomes affordable for a small shop or home use, I'd buy one to have in my own garage and do my own cars with it. I would. But the way to check it, like you said, how would you know nitrogen if you come across it? Okay, the problem is most people, we have found out 15% of the people check their tire pressures to begin with. Many of them probably don't even have a gauge. You can buy a nitrogen pressure gauge.
Okay.
So
you can't use a standard pressure gauge?
No, it detects the nitrogen. So if you bought one of those gauges and checked your tire, you could tell if you had nitrogen in it or not.
Wow.
So that's the one way to do it. But most people don't check their pressures anyway, and if they're doing this so they don't have to check their pressures, so they're probably not going to check it. So you're right. I guess the thing is, if an unscrupulous shop owner used air, and you noticed you're riding on rims after a couple months, you could say, hey,
where's that nitrogen?
Oh, we got to change all 4 of your tires. They were put on wrong, man. The valve stems weren't aligned with Mecca, and
you go back to Bronx.
Right. Well, that's
domestic versus import air.
When you go to Bronx Tire Shop, right? He'd tell you that that was the problem. So yeah, I mean, that opens up a whole other can of worms. But assuming that everybody's going to be on the up and up here.
Right.
It's a good thing, and the price, they did give some price points for fills, for the tire fill. And again, like you said, the lower the price, the more it's going to take you to pay off the equipment, unless you can make it up in volume. And I guess obviously the thing is, if you want to get a fleet sale, you want to get a fleet contract, that's great, because with anything, a fleet contract is fantastic. You got money coming in.
No, that's true.
So from a shop owner's perspective, it's a tough nut.
Let's go to the phones. To the fun. Hi, you're on with the Motor Mouths.
Hey, guys, this is Ralph from Geneva here, calling in with a quick one.
What's up, Ralph?
Hey, Ralph.
How are you?
Good. Want you guys to check something on YouTube called The Mechanics. Yeah. It's by Charles Cullen, and I think it speaks to what your show is on about today.
Oh, okay. About tire pressure and nitrogen versus...
About the whole
fleecing
thing.
Customers.
Yeah.
About the whole thing. Listen, I got to go. It was just a quick one. Take care.
Thanks, Ralph.
Thanks, Ralph.
Seeing you.
Always a pleasure. We'll talk to you soon. 516-572-7440. There's your phone number.
Nice.
Get a hold of us right here at Motormouth Radio. But yeah, I guess what Ralph was trying to say was the fleecing and the nitrogen and.
I don't know what he was. I don't know really what he was pointing at, to tell you the truth. But we'd have to go and find out.
YouTube and go to the mechanics.
Yeah. I don't know.
Interesting thought. 516-572-7440 is the phone number to get a hold of us. Ray Guarino's behind the shop bench. I'm Chris Switzer. You can hear the show on Performance Motorsports Network. You can also hear us on iHeartRadio. Should we take a break? Yeah, might as well. Let's take a quick break right here.
All right.
And when we come back, we're going to talk a lot more. Actually, I want to talk about what we were talking about a couple of shows back. Dead key fobs.
Oh, yeah.
I want to talk about that when we get back right here at Motormouth Radio. But the Motormouth Radio Honor Group of the Hour drivers with the Flaking Clear Coat. The Flaking Clear Coat finish. And not only is that...
Say that again 3 times fast.
The Flaking Clear Coat finish. Crispy, crunchy paint flying everywhere. And if you got it, you're part of the Motormouth Radio Honor Group of the Hour. Keep it where you got it, because there's a lot more of this mess, and it's coming your way.
Tune into Thunder Road for...
The heart-stopping, fast-dropping, hard-rocking, earth-shocking, booty-shaking, love-making, Viagra-taking, history-making, legendary...
Join me, Kim Tracy, for the music of Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band on Thunder Road, Thursdays at 11 p.m. and Sundays at 1 p.m. on 90.3 WHPC, and streaming at ncc.edu/WHPC.
Alrighty, welcome back to Motormouth Radio. When we last left, Ray and I were discussing dead key fobs and the fact that I have a boss that could not get out of his Eldorado. Oh, Eldorado. I always call it an Eldorado. It's a Caddy Coupe. This CTS.
Right, CTS. Yeah.
Couldn't get out of it. But
I guess, is he too fat to climb out a window?
No.
So why didn't he just climb out the window?
He's just too uncoordinated to climb out the window.
Oh.
There's a difference. Well, I was talking to my wife about it, and she pointed out that there are some cars. She noticed it was one of those myth-type lists that she saw on MSN where auto companies will put the key lock under a little blank on the door where the key lock would be. And she says, is this true? And I'm like, son of a gun, I got to look at this. Well, would you believe that, I'm going to start reading here, modern push-button ignition vehicles can be very tricky to get into and start when the battery in the key fob, your car's remote control, or the clicker when it fails. And it likely will fail far earlier than the old keyless entry fob because of the fob is in constant communication with the car. So there are some ways that you can pretty much get into the car and get the car started when you get
brick through the window.
When you get that little image on your dash that says key not detected. There are many backup options to start a keyless ignition vehicle. And there's one site called dashboardsymbols.com that gives the instructions on how to get into your car, how to get out of your car, and how to start your car if the key fob dies.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Do you know if that information is in the owner's manual as well?
It probably is in the owner's manual.
The place nobody would look. They'll look on the internet, on Google, but not in the manual.
But there are ways to pop a little cap off of the door handle to reveal one of those...
a hidden key.
A hidden
so we're back to playing Leisure Suit Larry in the land of the lounge lizards.
Do you know that there are 12 manufacturers that have chosen to hide the keyhole in some models for the sake of appearance?
Yeah.
Here they are. They're Audi, BMW, Ford, GM meaning Chevrolet and Cadillac, Hyundai, Jaguar, Kia, Lexus, Mercedes, Volkswagen, and Volvo. And they all add models seemingly every year to put that little cap on there, just for aesthetics. That's all it is. But now, this is what I
God forbid we see that ugly key lock.
This is what I find amazing, that this dashboardsymbols.com has an app. And you can put the app on your phone.
Yeah.
And if you, God forbid, are locked out of your car, your key fob dies, the app will talk you through how to get around it.
It's one thing we don't have in my house yet is any push-button start cars.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have any of those.
But you do have a keyless entry.
Yeah, my wife's car is the newest one in the fleet, and that does have keyless entry, which doesn't work for me, but it worked for her.
Well, you don't hold it up.
I don't know what you got to do. No, you're supposed to just be able to approach the car with it. I don't know. I don't really care.
You don't get radio waves. You don't attract radio waves.
I'll push the button, let it open the door. That's fine. That's interesting, though. I'm not surprised they do that for appearance sake. Because So now I wonder how many of those little plugs the dealers stock for when the people pry them off with a screwdriver and bing, send them across the parking lot.
Right, those little finished plugs. Because now, if you think about it, what are you going to do?
You know what would have been slick and would have impressed me? If they made it like you push it down and slide it down in. You know, sometimes you push and slide. That would impress me, and then you just slide it back and it pops up. That would. Then I'd say, cool.
But I'm thinking that
now it's just jadrool.
When does the key fob die? Usually when it's dark, usually when it's raining. That's usually, and you have to, or someone has to talk this poor soul, this poor frustrated driver into popping the cap off his door handle so he can get that physical key, whatever it is, and stick it in there.
Yeah.
But there are ways of handling it, and dashboardsymbols.com has got the, seems that they have the answer.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to talk about, we're scheduled for a guest this coming Sunday, which we don't know if we will be or will not be doing a show due to the weather.
Right.
But John Day from daydistributing.ca, he's up in Canada. He's a representative for Pathfinder Fluids. I met him on Blab, doing Lou Santiago's Blab channel show, which I'll be doing tonight again, most likely.
Oh, it's on Thursday now.
They,
right?
I told you, they changed the night to Thursday. So tonight at 9, if you want to go to blab.im and look for Playing in the Streets, you can find Lou, and I'll be on there.
Mm-hmm.
But John, I found him through the show, and he's going to come on Sunday. He's scheduled for Sunday to talk about the line of lubricants, and he's a tribologist. So he knows his stuff. We're going to talk about Ricon and Tropics and Flowtorch and all that good stuff.
That's a tribologist?
Yes, tribology is a branch of mechanical engineering and material science that deals with the friction between, let me see, I think I wrote something down here. It's the science of engineering of interacting surfaces in relative motion. Includes the study and application of the principles of friction, lubrication, and wear.
Son of a gun!
So that's what a tribologist is versed in.
Slips right in, slips right out.
And John is. And they show, he has a bunch of videos up where they show a machine where it's like the bearing test where a motor loads a lever that they put the lubricant on.
Mm-hmm.
And as the lever contacts metal on metal, now with the lubricant, and they use other lubricants as well, you weigh the fulcrum point. So you start putting a load on it with weights. And at some point, it just fails. It's like watching the commercial on TV. They did that with the engine just melts, locks up and melts on the engine stand. The same thing. And they record the weights, then they clean it off, put the second lubricant on of choice, and do that. And of course, he uses his lubricants and shows that they're superior to all the others, because that's the industry standard test for that.
Well,
so we may hopefully be talking to John on Sunday.
That's very true. We may, but right now we're out. I'm Chris Switzer. That's Ray Guarino. This is Motormouth Radio. We will hopefully talk on Sunday. And always remember, the best advice we always give. That's right. Don't follow us home. See ya.
Bye.